Ready to explore the cutting edge of digital infrastructure? I'm Carrie Charles, your host of Let's Get Digital. Join me as we dive into the ideas, technologies, and leaders transforming the way we connect, from wireless telecom to fiber networks, data centers, and beyond. Sponsored by Broadstaff in partnership with RCR Wireless News. Now, let's dive in and let's get digital. I'm so glad that you joined me today on Let's Get Digital. It's going to be a great show because I have one of my dear friends with me, Scott Willis, who is the CEO of DartPoints. Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Appreciate it. I always enjoy the opportunity to be able to do this, so thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know we were talking recently at one of the events, and I was hearing all of the updates of the exciting news, things going on with DartPoints, and I said, okay, we've got to get you back on the show because you were on back in 2022. So, Scott, for the people that don't know DartPoints or don't know who you are, let's start with you because you have a very interesting story, and maybe you can share some of the moments that really steered you to where you are today in the data center world.
Absolutely. I'm happy to talk about that. I always sought out, even coming out of college, right, and had an interest in technology. Listen, a lot of things evolve across your career. I'm very blessed. I've had a strong career, and I'm very excited about where I am today in the data center space. But I think maybe a couple of things. I always have looked for emerging opportunities. And I think as I've done that in my career, there's been really three that I'm proud of, that I've sought out. And then really the second component of that is I've always kind of sought out opportunities that roles and responsibilities that maybe not everybody wanted or everybody desired, maybe the harder types of jobs. And I think that's served me well, and it's really allowed a foundation professionally that I draw upon, that I think I take advantage of every day. But it's really 3 points. I mean, back in the early days, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but back in what was long distance, right? In those days, it was kind of AT&T or Bell. Ma Bell is what my grandparents used to refer to that as. And that was back in kind of the 80s and late 80s, early 90s where that emerged. And you had a lot of great companies beyond AT&T in terms of WorldCom, MCI, Sprint, which part of my career was at. And I'm proud of that time. And here's why, is because if you look at the foundation across wireless, digital infrastructure, towers, fiber, and data centers, there are a lot of executives that emerged out of that time that long distance created in terms of building competitive skills, knowing how to build teams, knowing how to really evolve in a challenging market, and how to really build cultures in terms of what you do. And that's something that I'm proud of there. Secondly, if you fast forward into the 90s, the second kind of phase that I think I'm blessed with was wireless, right? And that was, if you kind of think about the impact that's had on society, and if you think about the impact that technology has had, not only domestically, but globally, that was another one that I kind of sought out and I loved. I spent a couple of decades there and I had a great run there, learned a ton, worked with a lot of great people. And then when I stepped out of that in 1819, in terms of when I came out of that period, in terms of where I was, I kind of said, what do I want to do next? And I saw it out, right, in terms of the data center sector and what was an emerging market, what was an industry that was going to take me well into probably the end of my working careers, at least in day-to-day operations. And that's what drove me into the data center space. So a lot of luck, a lot of mentorship with a lot of people that have helped me along the way. But I also like to think that I played a role in terms of a little bit of planning, a little bit of seeking in terms of what are those industries that are really going to drive, involve, and having a meaningful impact. And I think I've been able to participate in three of them, and I'm very fortunate for that.
Yes, you are. Tell me about DartPoints.
All right. Love to talk about DartPoints. So we are an owner-operator of data centers. We are focused on the enterprise. large enterprise where we focus. We're a full scope provider, meaning we offer space and power co-location. We offer the full stack of cloud, hybrid cloud, managed services across our portfolio, where maybe it's a little bit different, right? We tend to focus on non-tier one markets, right? I don't tend to lean on the word edge a lot. I think I've said that to you a couple of times as we've been in these conversations, but it's non-tier one markets in terms of how we see the industry evolving. We're 11 data centers in 10 markets today, largely at least where we sit today in the Midwest, Southeast, and South Central. So that's kind of a quick hit on who we are, what we do, and the customer segment that we target.
So I was reading, and again, I don't know if this is true, but that there are approximately 5,500 data centers in the US today. What sets DartPoints aside or makes DartPoints different?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you are right. I don't know if it's exactly 5,500, but it's a lot. I mean, for a person that doesn't understand the sector that we're in, a lot of people just think a data center is a data center, and that couldn't be further from the truth, right? And it's all about focus. It's where do you sit in the customer segment that you're trying to build your business around. And those are the things that really separate you in terms of what you're doing. So whether you're at the hyper end of the market, whether you're targeting single tenant data centers, whether you're a wholesaler, whether you're an enterprise that has your own data centers, right? There are lots of different segments of data centers, but clearly we're focused on multi-tenant, larger enterprise and bringing ecosystems with a solution set across our portfolio that hopefully delivers a meaningful impact to the IT needs that an enterprise has in the market today. That's what we're all about. We want to enable very interconnected, very robust, and very reliable ecosystems in the markets that we serve. And we want to draw enterprise customers in to leverage what we bring into the market as they're looking to, grow their business, scale their business, take care of their customers, whatever their need is from an IT perspective. We want to be a partner to be able to do that. So that's what differentiates us. We're committed to what we do. We take care of our customers. We deliver what we believe is a really high touch type of environment. And we think our customers recognize and reward us for that type of winning strategy. So that's a little bit where we are. I talked earlier about where do we position from where our assets are placed. And then those are the types of services and solutions that we try to bring into the market.
So Scott, when we talked, you have been repositioning and I guess transitioning DartPoints. How have you done that? Like what's going on? What's new? Update us.
So a lot's happened since you and I have talked on this in 22. But the thing that we're most excited about is the process that we've just completed. It came out in the public domain a few weeks back. But obviously we've recapitalized the company. We've brought on new investors or investors. We actually have a couple of new investors that we've brought into the business. We're excited about that. We hit a point in our journey where we just had achieved what I think we could do, and we needed that new capital infusion to be able to continue to grow, to be able to continue to realize the vision that we have for DartPoints, and to really be able to advance the platform to take advantage of, quite frankly, what are the tailwinds, largely driven around AI and denser types of workloads, to continue the journey and the success that we're on. And that's what this transition is all about. I couldn't be more excited about the new partnerships that we have with Nova Infrastructure as our primary equity partner, and then OIC largely on the debt side. We've transitioned the business in that journey. So really in a couple of ways. One is previously we were a hybrid, both owned versus leased assets. And we've transitioned that to be much heavier owned assets. So we're at a point where going forward, that is going to be a strategic part of how we build, scale, and grow DartPoints going forward. So that was important. A lot of work and a lot of energy went into converting some of our leased assets into owned, but that's an important transition that we made in this process. And then secondarily, as we were in the recapitalization process, a lot happened during that period in the industry. I mean, the industry is moving, particularly on the tailwinds of AI, just at lightning speed. And what we've recognized and what we're seeing in the market is a real need is, and this is really backed up by a pretty strong pipeline of opportunities, is a lot of the players in the data center space have evolved upmarket, right? And are really targeting much more towards hyper kind of workloads. And what we realized in that process, where many of the players are trying to move up and take advantage of the needs of that segment of the market, is, larger enterprise, right, still has needs. And what we realized is there was a real vacuum in the market in kind of that 10 to 40, maybe 50 megawatt kind of range. And so as we went through this recapitalization process, as we were repositioning the business to take advantage of that opportunity, that's the transition that has evolved, and that's where we are. And that's really what we are crystal clear on in terms of what we're focused on as we look to build this business, is really putting capital to work in two ways. One is to expand our existing sites in the existing platform we have in our markets. We've got 4 of those projects that are currently underway that we're going to move into that power segment in that 10 to 40 megawatts that I was describing. We are so excited about that in terms of how that's going to be a game changer for DartPoints and the vision that we have for the company. And then secondarily, we've been fairly acquisitive in how we've built DartPoints, but we've really bought it or built it around buying businesses, right? And we've done that through what is effectively 4 transactions. I don't think M&A is going to look like historically what it has for DartPoints going forward. I think M&A is going to be a little bit more site specific, and it's really about identifying those asset opportunities that are out there that can deliver quickly, right, into that 10 to 40 megawatt range that we're really looking to build this platform around. So that's really what the strategy is. Time to market is our number one priority, right? We want to deploy and expand in our existing portfolio as fast as we can, and we're working very hard every day to do that. And then we want to leverage M&A to be able to bring the kind of asset that'll complement the strategy and the vision that I've described in that power segment space that we're going after, and do that in a way where we can deliver that quickly. So lots of transition, lots of activity in terms of recapitalizing the company. I'm excited about our new partners in terms of what we're trying to achieve, and we are laser focused as a team in achieving what I just described.
Congratulations, Scott. I know that you're going to make it a reality.
It's a lot of work, but we're excited about the opportunity.
I'm sure it is. What steps are you taking to, I guess, future-proof your data centers?
Yeah, this is hard. That's a subject. It's kind of funny because this morning I've got a leadership team coming up the next week, and I was working on the agenda, and it's a subject that is on every leadership meeting that we have. It's in 2 ways. One is it's about understanding your existing platform, your existing customer base, and remaining relevant, right? How do you take an existing platform that maybe is designed for a different time in a different state and evolving that so that you're relevant over the next 3 to 5 years, right? And then, so that's one. And that's hard, right? Because you can't disrupt your customers, right? You've got to understand, how do you evolve your existing platform to make sure that you're relevant for your customers and you're meeting future workloads. And then 2 is, right, it's through expansions, right? In terms of it's designing and it's configuring the future state environment that we're trying to transition this business towards, and building and expanding the platform to be able to meet those future state needs, right? Whether it's power, whether it's cooling, whether it's space, right? How do you design, deploy, and expand your platform so that you remain relevant over the next 3 to 5 to 7 years? And in an environment where technology is evolving as rapidly as it is in the data center sector, particularly on the tailwinds of AI, that is no small challenge. That is, Brad, my CTO, we're blessed. He's one of the best in the industry, but he is cycling through constantly trying to make sure that he understands how he maintains our relevance going forward. So it's a challenge, right? But this isn't a DartPoints only challenge. It's any data center operator in our sector is facing the same challenge that I just described.
I think any business right now in the world is facing this challenge with AI, right?
No question. That's exactly right.
For sure. So can you explain the difference between the multi-tenant and single-tenant data centers quickly, but then also the unique challenges that you face as a multi-tenant?
I mean, listen, this is going back to my segmentation comment earlier. There is no easy segment in our business. I want to be clear with that up front, right? But they're different, right? If you're a single-tenant provider, whether you are providing to the hypers as a single tenant, or you're providing to a wholesale type of customer, or even just a large enterprise that you're providing services for, That's a different environment to work within, right? Your expectations around what do you need to build? What are the customer's needs? What are their exact requirements, right? All of those things you can design, configure, and construct for as you're doing that. Again, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a different challenge. In our environment, where it's multi-tenant, you've got to design for the widest catcher's mitt, right? We're trying to cast the widest net to the market that allows us the greatest opportunity at commercial success. So understanding the broader customer needs, right? Understanding how do I design and configure a next generation data center that will meet the multiple demands and multiple needs of multiple customers, right? It's just a different profile and it's a different challenge as a data center operator that you face within that environment. We've been around since about 2014. We've been a multi-tenant operator since day one. We think we're good at it, right? Feedback we get from our customers tells us we're pretty good at it. And so it comes with a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, whether it's just pure basic space and power, or you're offering a more complex cloud, private cloud, multi-tenant cloud, hybrid cloud, right, environment wrapped around with some managed services, right? The complexity, all of those years of experiences are playing into how do we continue, whether it's an expansion or whether it's an M&A opportunity, build and configure what is a future-proof, right, type of data center that continues to be relevant and meets the needs of the enterprise customers. So the complexities are different, right, because you are dealing with multiple customers, multiple customer requirements, and you need to be able to manage that end to end. You need to be able to deliver that across your teams, right, with the right processes, right tools, the right procedures. And then you've got to do it in a way where you're economically being very efficient and getting an acceptable level of return for your investors, right? And so it just adds a different challenge and a different element. One's not any harder or less harder than the other one, but the challenges are certainly very different. So those are some of the high-level differences between maybe some of the more defined requirements of a single tenant versus the challenges that you deal with in trying to solve for a much broader set of customers.
What innovations in cooling do you believe will become standard in the next 5 to 10 years? Also, what cooling options specifically are you using now?
Yeah, so that is probably one of the primary objectives. I mentioned Brad earlier, my CTO, that we are focused on. In fact, we've got a number of different pilots that are underway in a test lab environment in our data centers using a number of different cooling technologies, particularly liquid, right? We're really trying to understand what is the best configuration. It goes back to what I said earlier, right? If you've got a single tenant, they help you define, right? And that's what you deploy. In my environment, right, where I'm trying to, it's back to that casting a wide net, that wider catcher's mitt, where we're trying to solve for multiple types of workloads, it is more challenging, right? So we're trying to understand that, particularly in these expansion sites, we're trying to understand. But it is going to be a combination of dense air-cooled environments. It's going to be multiple combinations of various liquid options. We are piloting that as we speak. We are leveraging expertise and consultants that are available in the market that have a lot of experience and bring a lot of data. That is a significant component of what my current mind share is going towards. Brad, our CTO's current mind share is going towards, and Dave, who obviously at the end of the day, he runs operations. He's got to run all of this, right? He's got to make it all happen for our customers. So we're in the mix of trying to solve for that. But what we do know is we will have to bring multiple cooling solutions into our environment to meet the needs and the demands of the customers that not only we're expecting to track near term, but also maintain relevance 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road as we're deploying capital into, like I said, either these new expansion facilities or potentially through M&A. So that's a real challenge. That is a difficult part of the industry today because there are lots of different cooling solutions, lots of different powering solutions, right, that you've got to synthesize through and make the best decision for your business in where you sit in the hierarchy of the market segment you're trying to serve as a data center operator. So, when you say what is going to be the go-to power 5 to 7 years, I don't have an answer for that. We're still trying to figure out, what are the best solutions that we know will meet the needs of not only our customers today, but hopefully in a few years to come as we try to future-proof the investments that we're making. So it's exciting on some fronts. It's fun to work through, but you've got to make the right decisions. You got to make the right choices, and that's what the fun of the challenge is.
Yes, I agree. Let's talk about talent and workforce. We have been discussing how fast the data center space is exploding, right? There's AI driving it. Every single conference that I go to, data center conference, it's all about the growth. And there's got to be a talent shortage at this point. Are you feeling that in your business?
Yeah, no question. I think anybody that's in the data center sector, there's certain segments, right? You and I have had a lot of conversations about this, right? This is core to what your business that you've built's all about. So you and I talked a lot about this. Culture there is no more important factor than culture, right? And it's getting the right team members, the right skill set. Then you got to put the passion, and you got to put the ownership, and you got to put the willingness to go that extra mile and lay the vision out for your team. All of that comes together. So there is no question that talent is at the forefront of everything we're facing. We're doing that today. We've been in a significant hiring environment. We're probably, if there's an area, this kind of goes back to some conversations you and I have had back, because we knew each other back in my wireless days, back kind of when I'll speak domestically, right? Kind of when, Sprint and TMO and Verizon and AT&T were all deploying at the same time, right? We had a real labor shortage back in those days. We're kind of in that euphoria in the data center space just because there's so many expansion projects and new builds going on in our industry. So whether it's, engineering, construction, project management, all the skills that you need to be able to either expand a data center within, an existing campus environment, which is part of what I'm talking about, or you're building a new one. That's a real need in our industry today. It's finding the talent and the skill set, and then throw in the challenge of what we talked about earlier about future-proofing and understanding the tailwinds of AI and cooling and power, and making sure that what you're deploying and capital that you're putting to work remains relevant, beyond the next 2 or 3 years. Finding the skill set to help you navigate that and work through that is difficult. And again, as I talked about, kind of that future-proofing of your platform today that all leaders that are in our sector are challenged with, this is another one, right? Because it's real, right? We're in a stage of great opportunity in front of us, right? But to realize that opportunity, you've got to invest, and you got to create the platform and enable the platform and be able to deliver the ecosystems that you can take advantage of that opportunity. And so talent is clearly something that all of us collectively are struggling with, because again, as you and I have had many conversations, without the right talent, right, you're never going to achieve or realize the vision that you have for your business. And that is no different for DartPoints. That is important. And we're constantly looking to not only take care of the critical team that we have in place today, but how do we add to that and enhance that and build upon that to make sure that we're able to achieve the vision that I've been talking for the last few minutes around DartPoints.
Do you have, let's say, one strategy that's been working for you to attract and retain talent? Let's say attract, right? Because they're hard to find. Anything that's worked for you?
I think there's a number of things that you've got to kind of deploy inside your business, right? It's creating the right culture, right? It's creating the right vision that people can align with. It's creating an environment that people want to come into and they want to work for and participate in that environment, right? Your biggest advocates are your employees, right? If they're out there talking about DartPoints, if they're talking about this is a great place, that draws in, right? All of those components have to come together in terms of ultimately trying to create an environment where you can attract the right talent. It's interesting. Maybe one initiative, and I'm proud of this to the extent that I'm seeing results, but we're early on. I launched, the challenge when you're with a business the size of DartPoints, we're kind of a medium-sized business, is, because I've had success in these kinds of businesses, and I've worked for some large global corporations as well, right? And it's not only the right talent, but it's having the layers of that talent to be able to grow and scale that business. And that's a challenge for a business the size of DartPoints. And so I launched what I called our ELT. So it's our extended leadership team. What I really began to realize is too much responsibility was relying on my direct reports, the senior leadership team of DartPoints to get things done, right? And I realized that if we don't enable that next layer of leadership, right? So that VP and that director, senior director, because that's really where work happens. That's where decisions happens. That's where progress is made, and that's where execution occurs. And so, we've implemented that in a pretty significant way, and where it's formal. We have formal meetings, not only with that team. That team meets as a group and brings ideas and concepts and things we need to do to drive and improve DartPoints up into the leadership team. And I couldn't be more proud of, it's early, it's only been about 8 months, but I couldn't be more proud of how that's evolving. And I'm seeing it. This team has embraced that. They're owning their objective. They're taking responsibility. They're embracing the ability to make decisions and own those decisions. And I'm seeing the results of it. So always looking for those kinds of opportunities to enable an organization, I think is important, not only for someone that sits in my role, but as an executive leadership team, as you're looking to grow and evolve and scale an organization, particularly in a business like ours, meaning the data center sector in general broadly, that is moving so rapidly on the tailwinds of technology, right? It's just, I thought in previous parts of my career, things move fast. Nothing is moving as fast as what AI is evolving in this business today. And you've got to be able to keep up with that. And that doesn't happen without having the right talent in the organization that feels empowered, feels enabled, and has ownership in the outcome. And that's what we're trying to achieve is we try to ultimately achieve the vision that I talked about previously.
Scott, what is the big dream that's driving you forward right now?
I've had lots of dreams, lots of goals, and a lot of those that I've achieved, but it's a lot of what I've described. I am enjoying so much what I'm doing with DartPoints. I love this data center space. Doesn't mean I didn't like wireless, that I didn't enjoy the long distance, but I really am enjoying. Listen, our world is changing rapidly. I mean, technology, AI, the ecosystems that where we sit, how we're going to enable all that is going to have such a dramatic impact on society and everyday lives, right? And in some ways, not even all of us realize or can envision what that's going to mean, even, 6 months, a year, 18 months, 2 years down the road. I love being a part of that. And my goal is I want to enable DartPoints to be a meaningful provider and enabler of those ecosystems, right? And the vision that I've laid out, I'm excited about. And if we can execute on that and enable that, that's going to position DartPoints as a company. And mine's, my goal, mine's personally in terms of where I am in my age and my career is to build this business in a sustainable way, right? I want the employees I want to have a culture that they love what we're doing, right? They're buying into what we're doing. It's got longevity and they feel like they're contributing to what we're trying to do. So those are a lot of my big goals and what I'm trying to do, just kind of given where I am in my career is enabling DartPoints and having the team that can kind of help me and the leadership team achieve what I've described.
What is your website? How can we learn more about DartPoints?
Yeah, the website, www.dartpoints.com. So any and all information about who we are, what we do, what our strategy is, site level information in terms of power space, anything associated around, white papers, thought leadership, anything you want to know in terms of DartPoints and what we're trying to do, you'll find it on the website. So please hit it, and we're happy to provide any follow-up or any questions that someone might have if they reach into us.
And job openings too. You have a career page there, right?
Absolutely. We have those, and those are critical. So if you're interested, would love to talk to you.
Scott, I just want to say, just not only thank you for coming on the show today, but thank you for your mentorship over the years to me. You have been such an inspiration from the moment I met you. Every time we talk, you give me business ideas, guidance, hope, excitement. I just want to thank you for that because it means a lot to me. And again, like I said, I have no doubt that you are going to accomplish everything that you set out to accomplish with DartPoints and more. So thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate you having me on. I always enjoy the opportunity to come in and visit with you.
You take care. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thanks for tuning in to Let's Get Digital. This podcast is powered by Broadstaff, a national staffing firm specializing in digital infrastructure talent. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and join me next time as we explore more stories at the intersection of technology, talent, and transformation. Until then, let's get digital.